Welcome to Smart Remarks, where BP needs to be protected from you. So President Obama's speech on Tuesday night was a bit of a disappointment. We're doing everything we can, which can never be enough. BP's going to pay, but that can't really undo the damage. And let's talk about alternative energy, which is a great idea. But as was the case with health care, you'll notice that the president himself had no specific plan. And maybe it's time for our leader to, actually lead a little bit. Meanwhile, experts said the amount of oil coming out of the Gulf floor was higher than previously thought. We've seen several of these statements over the course of the past week. I think we're probably going to see more. I have a theory that both BP and the government know exactly how much is coming out, but they don't want to disclose the catastrophic figure. So if we do get the truth, we'll get it in dribs and drabs, just a little bit at a time. But there was some good news this past week when BP agreed to establish a $20 billion escrow fund to help pay claims from Gulf residents. It was a welcome development, unless you're a winger, in which case it was an outrage! And so all week long we had conservatives complaining that the government was shaking down poor BP. Michelle Bachmann complained about the redistribution of wealth. Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour said that the escrow account might actually make BP less likely to pay claims because, quote, they need their capital to produce income. The Republican Study Committee, a group of conservative House members that includes our own Representative Joe Pitts, whined that the president doesn't, quote, respect fundamental American principles and didn't have the authority to ask for the money. And then there was Texas Representative Joe Barton, who actually apologized to BP CEO Tony Hayward, calling the escrow fund, quote, a tragedy of the first proportion, and saying that he was ashamed that the White House would ask for the money. And so you see what's happening here. Cut BP a break, BP is a good and virtuous corporation, and they only want to do the right thing for their shareholders. I mean, Gulf residents. Sure, they must be held responsible, but not too responsible. And so consider what would happen if Republicans happened to be running the show right now. There'd be no escrow fund, and so what happened if BP was unable to pay the claims? Well, somebody would have to pay the claims, and that somebody would be you and me. The president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce a few weeks ago actually came out and said something very like this, saying, quote, everybody is going to contribute to this cleanup. We are all going to have to do it. The chamber subsequently backed away from that statement, but that it was made in the first place is telling because it almost perfectly reflects the right-wing mentality. Let's not be too hard on poor BP because their prosperity is our prosperity, and their spill is your spill.
I'm ashamed of what happened in the White House yesterday. I think it is a tragedy of the first proportion that a private corporation can be subjected to what I would characterize as a shakedown. In this case, a $20 billion shakedown with the